Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast. Sparky Coach, Lounge Pod, Crowe here with Brad Hibberd, the big Hib dog, Hib Electrical, based out of Tas. We are so fortunate enough to have Hib on our coaching team, with coaching a few members and also running our growth hub every Thursday at 11 a.m. Hib, how are you?
Good.
How is the growth hub?
Yeah, good. I really enjoy the group sessions. Now that we've made it like a group hub instead of like sub 1 mil and north 1 mil, I think it's good because some guys that ran some larger businesses to the sub one guys can see that hey, the exit is here, and that everyone that's gone through this trajectory has there is an exit point if you follow the pathway. You don't have to remain in this chaos type of business where some people like to spend decades. There is a pathway out of this. Yeah.
It's really interesting. I guess we're here to talk about the pathway out of this as well. And then also, one of our big mantras at Sparky Coach, it's been interesting to work out what we're about and what we do. And I've been playing around with some vision statements and mission statements. And I feel like we've finally landed somewhere. And the vision's pretty clear: make money, build wealth, be kind. I've really settled on that and sold on that. And just recently I was like, what's our mission? What do we want to do? And we want to help. And we want to help generate revenue, which is good. You need money coming in and clients coming in and people doing work for you to sort of have a business. And then we want to drive profits. There's no point doing huge months, 100 grand months, if you're not retaining some of that and it's not, or not on a pathway to retaining. I think there's two different conversations there. One is I keeping a lot of what goes in, and the other one is reinvesting back in because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is a growth stage of business, you might even say. And the last point is controlling your time. So generate revenue, drive profits, control your time. And time really is the highest dividend that money can buy. I don't know many people that would trade millions and millions of dollars if they never see their kids, never did anything they liked, work sundown to sun up, and we just went in this robotic psycho journey of entrepreneurship where they hadn't surfed, they hadn't exercised, they were out of shape, their relationship was in tatters. There's a really important part of business, and it comes back down to set work hours. I've got my work hours and I work within them. I'm going on regular holidays. I am doing things I love with the people I love regularly. And I want to touch, and I know you're hyper passionate about that here, and coming, and just for everyone to get some context, I just spent a couple of weeks in Japan and a week in Sydney, and then on the back of that, I went to Crescent Head for my brother-in-law's wedding, which was a great time. 2-time ARIA award winner brother-in-law, and went there, and that was awesome. And we've had two of the biggest months Sparky Coach has ever had. I'm feeling more switched on than ever. I'm feeling more energized than ever. I'm feeling more clear than ever. It's you can put it back down to a bit of time control, a bit of holidays. Now, contextually as well, I don't know that many people that have worked as hard as me in the last 3, 4 years, 5 years as well. So contextually, there was a cost, and there's that cost, and I was willing to pay that cost because as long as I had an end date. One thing I think with the electrical world is when I was running the electrical business, I don't feel like I never deliberately did it. I sort of organically fell into it, a bit of time control, but it wasn't really directly chosen, I would say. It just sort of fell into it. I can actually do less hours, but I should have seen it further out. Sparky Coach, I was like, if I put in a whole lot of work here, I can reap a whole lot of benefit here, and I can put myself doing the things that I love. I can retain the things that I love doing. I love podcasting. I love meeting people. I love the clients that I have, the one-on-one stuff that I have. I'm getting into some personal development leadership training now with our members, which I'm really passionate about. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm in the spot here, feeling super clear, and I'm in control of my schedule. And that will fall, that'll go out of balance, in balance, out of balance, in balance. And I think you've got to love what you do, and you've got to love your life, and they both need to sort of entwine. So I have ranted a lot and chatted a lot, but where do you sit on that whole thing here? I know, you're a bit of a, when you first came into Sparky Coach, you were living in Thailand, Vietnam. You had 6 months around somewhere, and just give us some context to whatever you think.
I think everything I've gathered is like in business is like a season. So like you're in different stages of business. You should try to see it as a season or a chapter of the business, as long as you're fundamentally putting the moves in play to exit there and not stay at that level. Because you see people stay at that level for 10, 20 years. But if you're caught in a chaos period of business, then the might be the golden bullet might be that you do have to work more and work hard, as you're saying. Like you bled for Sparky Coach for a couple of years, 2, 3 years, so then you can buy a bit of time back. Otherwise, you could stay in that chaos period of business and you can never get the time back. But if you work smart, you can exit. So I feel like a lot of business owners get it the other way around, and that's why you see so many. But they go, I'm a business owner now, and they look at the guy that's done it for 15 years driving a really nice car, and they don't see what sacrifices he made and what it cost him and what it had to take him as a person or me to level up, or a woman, to level up and sit in that chair. They just go, that's me now. I get these nice things. They incur like personal debt. They start to spend tax money. They start to make these poor business decisions because they're a business owner now. But they haven't put themselves through that vigorous season of like, hey, this is going to be incredibly tough. And it's going to suck for 2 or 3 years. But then I will reap the fruits of my labour later. So I think I've done a lot of travelling, and then that helped with the sense, as I was saying to you before, that helped with knowing business needed. So if you go away for a holiday for 3 to 6 weeks or something, and it'll just show you the cracks, and it'll show you where your next hire should be, your next assistance in the business should be. If you're a smaller business, then obviously it's probably going to be a tradie because you've just down the tools to go on holiday and you've still got clients that need service. But, as I got bigger, it was like, oh shit, I need some more admin support, like invoice drafting, like things like that, because I'm still doing invoicing when I'm away. So it just becomes like, how do I not do this when I'm away? How does the business operate without me being involved in it? And I think the really good book to listen to about read is like Built to Sell around that, because you put me onto that book, and then a few times you're like, oh, I could just do this myself and save me this money over here. But for me, the journey's never been about money. It's been about freedom and time. So I feel like people get their whole vision wrong. Like, money is really a fake man-made object. It doesn't exist. Like, we make money a thing. So that's like, it wasn't on earth with the trees. It's like, we've made money a thing. So realistically, how much is enough? And how much money do you want? Or are you actually chasing freedom and time? And for me, I always knew it was the time and freedom. But then you just get caught in the trap of like, when is enough? When am I going to stop buying stuff I don't need and stuff? And once you've leveled that out, financial freedom can be a lot less than what financial freedom for someone else looks like.
Yeah, I think for me, I've just written 6 notes while you were talking. There was probably, you could expand on that for days and hours. And I think the first thing you sort of mentioned, time on ground. I think people underestimate how long stuff takes. I really think at Crowe Electrical, 5 to 7 years. At 7 years, it really came together. I had lots of time. The money was coming in, and I was able to use that money to invest personally in property and do development. There was a cool trajectory of that. And make no mistake, money does buy back time and can buy back time. And if you invest something too early, like I just flashed back to Sparky Coach, and we were spending, I think, 30 grand a year on this podcast editor who I wasn't really happy with anything that they were putting out. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that because I want to learn how to do it so then I can actually have an opinion on it. And I'm not going to do it forever, but I'd like to take it back. We need to reinvest that money back in the business. I want to learn how to do that. I want to be the driver of social media because I think it's really important. The way we run, we don't have a salesperson, because I just think by the time you pay a salesperson and all the stuff that comes with that, whether it's the offices and bits and pieces, now you're just trying to get X amount of members to even break even. And it doesn't really make sense to me. And also you're putting a salesperson in a spot to sell to people that I love, Sparkies, that don't know what they're talking about, that are literally there on commission based or a higher salary to lure people into your program. And I'm like, I don't want to lure people into the program. People should buy it. It shouldn't be sold. People should want to buy it. So there's a real ethical wrestle there for me. And I remember taking the podcast back, doing it, and that gave me context to what was involved and how long it took, which is similar to like people being on the tools and learning an apprenticeship. Now we're about to outsource it. Not I'll still control it all, but it'll be sort of outsourced to someone else. But I know exactly what I want. I know the content we want to produce. I know the podcast we want to produce. I know the style. I know the rhythm, the rhyme, the reason, all from doing. I think so much stuff comes from the learning is in the doing a lot of times. Even the vision of your business, there's a lot of times you got to sweat into the business 3 to 5 years. Let's say it's 5 years. I think we've fast-tracked Sparky Coach because I have a business partner in Cam. I really think that triples your time. Think about having an excellent tradie on site you can bounce an idea off, and they're like, no, that's a bad idea. It's like, yeah. Or you bounce an idea off and they're like, maybe come up with a better idea, or you bounce an idea off and they're like, that's the one. So you've got that sort of iron sharpens iron thing in there. You've got two people working as hard in the business. Yes, there are incredible downsides of a business partnership, mainly the downsides of life. Someone dies, there's a divorce, or there's someone wants to move on or move state or move country or whatever. There's a lot of there's things to talk about, yes, but there's also, it can double or triple your return because you've got these two sort of, I'd say, high level people, if I don't say so myself, coming together. So that's really interesting. I think sometimes people want to fast track everything. And what I'm saying with the podcast outsource is I think some people try and outsource everything too early. And there's two sides to this. Outsource everything too early, and then when there's no money in it and they can't actually float it. The smart thing is to do is obviously you want a business that can pay for itself. Unless you've got millions of dollars in the bank or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, you really need your business to prove itself. They call it bootstrapping. So instead of getting investment, whether that's personal or someone else, throwing money into business and you can sort of chip down at it, you want to bootstrap it. You want to basically go, okay, can this thing pay for itself? How can this thing pay for itself? How can my revenue exceed expenditure so I can keep some money at the end of it? Then I can invest that back in. Yes, I'll take a lower wage. I should be earning 500 grand a year, but I'm going to earn 100 grand a year for a couple of years because it's going to pay off into the future. So much to talk about in that. And I don't want to, the other side of the coin is too many people don't outsource things too early as well. They hold on to the admin, their invoices, their inbox, all this kind of stuff to the detriment of their time. And your time is worth X, and you could be paying someone Y, and you could be on the higher ticket items, moving the business needle forward. And I think the best way for me to articulate that, if you're not doing your best job at generating revenue, driving profits, and controlling your time, the answer of where you're best placed is within those three pillars. But what do you think when I'm chatting?
Yeah, I reckon, for me, my advice would be as well to anyone that wants to get in the business. If you're not ready, and I did it, there's people that have done it incredibly different ways. A lot of successful business owners I feel that did it my way, which is they just grind. They just freaking lock in and grind. And but then have a vision to move out of it. But you talk to every business owner I know that has 15, 20 staff, whatever it may be, like really successful businesses. You talk to them about the first 5 years of their business, and they're like, the 9 o'clock finishes, they're still working on the tools at this time. Like the stories are there, like the sacrifices they made to reach the level of like, and you look at them now and they've got multiple houses and some nice boats and they hardly work, and you're like, man, that's what business owners should look like. But you talk to them about their 5 to 10 years sacrifice to get to that point, and you're like, right, this is required of most people, So I definitely did it the sacrifice way. And when you said about like outsourcing too early, I like have a mate that owns like some RTOs around Australia, like has a lot of staff, like him and his business partner. There's like, pretty sort of high level crazy business. And I talked to him as I was going, and he's like, yeah, well, you just got to make sure the work's there for someone, I suppose. So like, if you can do, instead of doing 40 hours a week, you do 60 hours a week for a month, and you're still up like, you can't do 80 hours a week, probably. That might be too much. But like, if you do 60 hours a week for a month, that's a good indicator of how I need this person. So if I was doing an extra 20 hours a week of admin on top of 40 hours on the tools, it's like, I need an admin now, like I need help here, like, because they're going to be slower than you anyway. So my 20 hours is probably 25, 30 for them, so you're only finding, and then when that hire comes on, they're going to find 10 hours more work, because if they're good, they're going to actively be looking for more work, or they can start building the back end things that you've been putting off doing. So there's always more work that you could find there for them. But then, I retained that work myself until I was like, right, there's regular work here. This isn't just like a period of time. This is like consistently how it's going to be. So higher now, higher. And I think I did that with every hire until about the 5 to 6 mark, I would say. I just was like, oh God, I'm working too much on the tools at the moment. Hire training, but I would take it on for like a month to make sure that I was giving someone job security as well. So.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like a busy calendar, a lot of people just rip it as I'm busy. I'm really busy. But if you can see a busy calendar as an indicator, and it's screaming at you, and I think this is why it's so important. One thing I've been really good at, and it's really helped me, is I log everything I do. If I'm editing something at night time, if I'm doing something at night time, if I'm getting back to someone in the morning, I'll log it all within 15-minute increments, so I can get a really clear picture of, oh my gosh, it's been like this for a while. I think when you log your time diligently, you then have a history to go, oh, the last 4 weeks I pushed 60-hour weeks, 70-hour weeks, 50-hour weeks, whatever they have been, and it's been typical for a while. And then what you do, you look back at it and be like, of those, what can I look at handing over? Because that's a bit unsustainable at this point. Now, coaching is very different, because coaching, we caught up this morning for half an hour. I've got to be somewhere, and we talk for half an hour about business, life, some fishing, right? So I've got a level of accountability to people that I need to be here at this point. The podcast need to go at a certain point. The thing that I find with a lot of trade business owners is they're just wishy-washy with their time. So if you're busy, if your calendar's full and you're busy, there's sort of two ways it can go. Either you're busy and not using your time well, which is not a hiring indicator. And I think some people hire when they're busy doing everything, but they're not using any time well, and they get someone in to help them. They don't even know what they do, so they can't hand it over. They weren't even doing a quality 40 hours a week, so someone else doesn't even have 40 hours a week. Then they employ the wrong person because they're tired, burnout, frustrated, busy, and then they're like, doesn't work. So that's interesting. It's the first question is, am I using my time well, and how can I use it better? And if it's like, no, I'm pretty good. Like, I'm not 100%, but I'm 80 to 90% like with my time, and I'm still really busy. That's a huge hiring indicator. So yeah, I think for me, that was always like using my calendar, reflecting back. I think I took a screenshot of my calendar in November. It was psycho. I'll have to post it up, because I was looking at it going like, oh, this is highly undesirable for life, But yeah, thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's an element of self-development, as I was saying before, that comes into this. So, you, as part of the business growth, you can't just expect it to grow without you going on a self-development journey as well, I feel. So, if you're unaccountable of your time, if you're not showing up for yourself, if you're not locking in and going, hey, I can't be in this meeting at like 8:30, like you were saying, then you're probably going to struggle to hire someone and scale the business because you haven't developed yourself to the point that you need to be to be able to achieve that. I feel like there's so many personal things that go on, like your childhood, like everyone gets some sort of trauma in their childhood, like no parent's perfect, but that really shapes an adult and an individual. So as you come through, everyone will be more adverse to risk. Some others will be more conservative. Some others will be have different, stress level, like what they can handle with stress is what I'm sort of trying to say. So every personality is different, but if you can't develop yourself and look into your own self as these things are happening and going, hey, no, I'm bottlenecking my business there because I'm a control freak, or I need to micromanage them because that is an internal thing. But right, I can't hold staff because I'm a micromanager. Well, that's an internal thing that you need to work on now for the business to go forward. So I feel like there's a lot of self-development there. Like if you show up for yourself and you're disciplined and you show up on time, and you can also internalize, like something might not go your way. Yeah, you probably want to snap at the tradie, but if you sit out of it and look at the situation, you can go, no, that's fair and reasonable. Tradie's not in the wrong there. I wouldn't have handled it much different myself. I'm just frustrated because I'm stressed, and you just go, nip that in the bud before you actually snap at them and go, yeah, no worries, I'll get it sorted. Because at the end of the day, I think a lot. I'm like, I get to do this, like I'm so privileged to sit in the seat that I'm sitting in now, and it's very easy when you go on the trajectory. I said to my operations manager the other day, we both work together. We're both commercial supervisors, mad job sites like the heck, and absolutely like grinding away, and then this is where I wanted to get to. And we had a few things go on last week where he was a bit stressed and sort of started complaining a little bit. And I was like, I get it, dude, but I think back 5 years ago, this is the seat that we wanted to sit in. We both wanted to sit here. Like, we're doing it, and you come to me because the company we work for, he wanted to be a project manager at eventually or some sort of operations manager, and they told him no, he was too young. So he said, come over to me. I was like, as we grow, I want to develop into this. And it was only me, him, and an apprentice, as I say. But he obviously could see that I had growth in mind as well. And it's sort of funny, that day had such a better day because I was just like, we get to do this, dude. Like, we get to sit in this seat that we've built ourselves to over the last 5 to 6 years, and we're there now. So we get to deal with these problems because we're sitting in the seat that we wanted to. So I feel like if you can sort of sit back and go, everything's happening for you, like this really negative challenge, what's the positive in it? Well, the positive in it is like, you made a wrong hire and got a really bad staff member, right? And they're causing a bit of chaos. And if you let them go, you're going to be overcooked and you're going to be overworked. Well, you got to let them go and you've got to take that. But the positive in it is you've learned. So the next time you put a job ad up, you interview someone, you won't make that mistake again. But I think, yeah, there is definitely an element to self-development in there. Otherwise, you can bottleneck your own business, or only go as far as what your like mental capacity and where you're at as a person, I feel, as well.
Yeah, and we were sort of talking off air, and it's so interesting. And I was saying, and I think you feel the same way, if someone put Sparky Coach and its responsibilities on me 5 years ago, I don't think I would have I wouldn't be the person I needed to be to get to this point. And my childhood was great, but I still wrestle with insecurity. What do people think of me? Ego, like I'm definitely right. And then I've got this sort of self-sabotage or fear of success. I think if you're always progressing, and a huge thing for me recently, and you won't be able to relate to this at all, was turning 40. And I'm like, why am I? Because you're only 25, right? How old are you? Are you 30 this year?
I'm 31 at the moment, but I'll take 25.
20, you look 25. You look great. But a huge thing for me was turning 40, and I'm like, why am I 40 and I'm still insecure? Like that's not what I had on my bingo card list. I also don't want my kids looking at me going, "Oh, Dad worries about what people think." So I think having kids and being a bit older was huge for me because I'm like, oh, I don't want to live with that weight on my shoulders. I don't need to live with that weight on my shoulders. When did I learn that? Was I born with it? I look at my kids and they're just born with different things. Some good, some not so good. And is it nature or nurture? Some of it's 100%. Like they've been nurtured the same, but they're so different in nature. And I think as humans, we're all wrestling with something. Everyone's pushing through some form of barrier. But the personal development skill is huge. I love what Charlie Munger says. Go to bed every day, try and go to bed smarter. And I think if you replace doom scrolling with reading, or you replace, I was reading something cool the other day that talked about snacking. And they're like, instead of seeing snacking as negative, so I'm going to go binge some Cadbury chocolate caramello. It's like, what can you snack on that's great? You might get some more steps in. You might walk instead of driving somewhere. You might, you might choose something little to do. That's good. A lot of those little things add up. So it's actually been a really interesting journey for me personally in personal development to go like, oh, now I'm getting better, which we should always be trying to get better. And I love what you said before about seeing problems. So I come home from Japan and had heaps of palm fronds to clean up. Like, swear to God, 40 palm fronds, right? And I'm just walking around going, like, looking at these palm fronds, just thinking, okay, now I got to get them, got to burn them or cut them up or whatever. And I'm just looking at it going, how lucky am I to have a house with palm trees? So instead of looking at it going, I got a 40 palm tree, like, I got so I'm the busiest person. You can look at it and be like, oh, I'm so lucky to have a house that has palm trees, that has fronds I can clean up. The dishes are the same, and the little washing. If you've got kids, you'll know how little some of those clothes are and how much a normal load of washing requires so much hanging out because their clothes are so small. I've said this before and I'll say it again. God bless a good old-fashioned towel load that you can throw straight in the dryer and just boost it. What a time that is. Anyway, it's like how lucky, instead of being like, oh, I got so much washing, I got so many dishes, I got so much to do. It's like how lucky that I have stuff to do. How lucky that I have these kids that require me somewhere, that need me. How lucky I have dishes of little bowls and food to do. How lucky you have food with people you love. So I think it's just like the narrative flip. It's the same thing. I'm dealing with lots of dishes. It's a problem, but it's just a different spin on the whole thing. So I love that. And I think you have to see business like that too. It's a privilege to be in the seat you're in. It's also a choice that was chosen. No one forced your hand to start a business. And I think that's really important to understand. And if it's like, oh, everything's a problem, business is a problem, it's like, well, you chose to sit here. So either you make it good or you keep complaining or you change something. Like, so either stop, keep going, or change. And that's your three major options whenever hurdle hits. So yeah, huge time. What do you reckon here that in your personal development, like what do you reckon, how do you think you're different now than you were when you started the business, and how has that helped you?
Today, I'm definitely more mindful. I wouldn't have grown to the size we were at if I didn't work on like my sort of, it was my way or the highway. I'd be really like micromanaging sort of vibe going on. That's what made me probably a really good supervisor for other people, but to hold staff wasn't the best. Wasn't the best theory or way about it. If you're going to employ professionals, you pay well, you get the guy in, and you let him do it his way. You, he's paid like that for a reason. So, and you got to let a few things go. Like if it is still good and really good quality, but it's different to how you would do it, then you still got to let it go. Um, you're not going to get to a level of business where you're looking over everyone's shoulder all the time. I don't have the time in the day to look over 12, 15 people's shoulder all day. It would do my head in. It'd go crazy. So there has to be an element of like letting go as well. This is out of my control. I've prepped everyone. I've trained. You're like the coach now, right? I've trained everyone for as best as possible. But on game day, the coach isn't on the field. Like, you got to let them play the game. Yeah, you can be there to aid them and direct them, but you can't like run in there, take the ball off them, and go, "This is how it's done." Like, you know. So you can just aim them to be better too. And not everyone wants to be on a progressive journey in life. So I realised for me that life's about constantly always being better and challenge yourself, and you'll never be the same person as you was yesterday, because you're always in this trajectory of life experience and wisdom and moving forward and changing. And that train of thought and life vision isn't for everyone. So if someone comes into my company, sometimes tradies will end up leaving at times because I'm like super progressive in a sense about, all right, well, what do you want next? You're doing really well here. Do you want to learn solar and batteries? And do you want to go do this course? And like, you know, if I think you're good, we'll develop you here. And they're like, I just want to come to work and go home. Like, I don't care. Like, you know, and that's okay as long as they come. That and when they've got that vibe and they're just cruising through life, I'm like, I won't probably be able to push them to be a leading hand, but they come to work, they do their job fine, and then they go home. But you're never going to be able to sort of push them to that level of where that person will develop, and that's fine. But he'll probably be the same trade he is when he's 50 years old, and go, why did I get sort of stuck here? Like, you know, I was the same person 50 years ago, and that to me is to look back at life and go, I probably didn't live life properly. To me, anyway.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? I mean, I often look, and if apprentices are listening to this now, just get the dual trade when you're younger. Put yourself in a boat of learning. It's so funny. I would never recommend what I did. Like, I came straight out of an apprenticeship, did a year at Bible college, and then started my own business. I was fortunate enough to have a bit of work there and a friendship group that were in and around like renovations and builders, and we had a large friendship group. It was from a small town, and I knew a lot of people. I grew up there, so it was a huge chip in that sense. It wasn't like I didn't know anyone or anything like that. And so yeah, it was crazy. But I would, if someone came to me now, I often think about this. Someone was like, "Oh, should I start or upskill myself?" I'd be like, probably upskill yourself. But that's not what I did. And I just threw myself in the deep end and went, all right, now I got to swim. And I think even for me, my reflection is, and you mentioned it before, on like my advice is risk taking. Like I take risks, and as I've gotten older, I've learned to realize there's huge downsides to failing. When you risk something, like you can risk something, and there can be huge rewards, and that's great. And if you've seen someone risk something to get a huge reward, I mean, it's amazing, right? But with risk comes huge, there could be a downside to that. So I remember, I think you got to know yourself. So I know I'm a huge risk taker. So balancing myself around mentors or people I can talk to, is that a good decision? What if I just wait on that for a month? What if I park that? So I think knowing yourself is absolutely key. I remember being 19 and putting $50 in the pokies, possibly Queen of the Nile. That was the one, right? And I remember putting $50 in and losing it. And I had this moment of going like, okay, I have an addictive personality. This is not going to go well for me. I'm not going to play. And I say rarely, but like never do that. I don't gamble. It's just like not something that resonates with my personality type or what I want to do. And there's no judgment on someone that can. It's like you see people do this stuff with their life and they somehow get out unscathed. And some people do other stuff with the same stuff with their life and come out completely scathed. And I think knowing yourself and knowing your limits and knowing that, oh my gosh, I'm too conservative. I might need to get around some more risk takers. Oh my gosh, I take huge risks and the last one didn't pay off. I might need to get some more wisdom and mentorship around that. I think knowing yourself is so key to running a business. I'm really good at that. I look at what I'm really good at and I'm like, oh, yeah, well, thank God Cam has a different skill set to me. So I think getting people around you that have completely different skill sets that can complement you is huge. And there's twofold to that, right? There's there's a gift you've been given and your natural tendencies, and then there's a stewardship of those. And there's like some things that you're just good at, and other things you can learn and you can get better in. And I think the things you're not so good at, you should be progressing through that to a reasonable extent. The things you're great at, you should be getting better in. Someone 2 times in the past 2 weeks, someone has said to me, "You're a natural on the podcast," and like my response was straight up. I'm like, yeah, if you call having a microphone in front of you for 25 years natural, like I'm cool with that. And that's how long I've been speaking and doing things, and whether it was in a church or via a podcast or I was running weddings for people or running events, all this kind of stuff is a learnt skill. I might have a natural gifting, but there's been a stewardship and a throwing myself out there and a failure, and I've 100% gotten down from things that I've spoken and cried and been like, I'm like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And I think it's so funny when the gift hits the stewardship, hits you in the right spot. Like that's what you want to be. And hopefully people, to you, I think business ownership, to come back to it, people look and be like, oh, you're so good at it. You're so natural. And like, well, it's a learnt skill. I've lived with this weight. I can handle the weight. If you ever live with a mortgage, when you never lived with one before, it's a different weight. If you ever live with a wife or a child, it's a different weight to what it was. It's not that it's good or bad, it's just different. It's a learnt skill to live with that, to think about other people. So it's so interesting in the business trajectory, going like, even one of our members the other day was like, how do you know this stuff? And I'm like, I've just made like a lot of mistakes. And just learned some things I've learned from other people, something I've learned the hard way. And I'll wrap up my chat with like, I think you just want to be basically, you want to be basically learning the skill that is to hold the weight of things and getting better at it and progressing through things. And people are, oh, you're so natural. And it's like, yeah, thanks. That's a compliment, but it's a learnt skill. What do you think about all that?
Yeah, I definitely think that like along the way it is a learned skill. So it's like everyone in today's society just wants this magic pill and to get the gratification now. I want to be here now. I want this now. And it's not reality. It's not what's going to happen. It's like, you're not even ready for that now. Like, you can't handle that now. Like, so if you didn't have the pathway of a 5 or 6 year, 7, could be 8, could be 10-year trajectory to wherever you're going, then each and every day you're going to be shaped with different challenges. Your shoulders are going to get broader. It's like going, with anything. It's sort of going to the gym mentally, like, you're developing yourself every day over time so you can handle the weight of where you're going to go, because you won't be able to do it if you got thrown into it tomorrow. So yeah, that might be nice. And if goals were easy to achieve, then everyone would do it, so you wouldn't be chasing it. Everyone would be sitting in the seat, so
The interesting thing, what you mentioned before about the gym, is that typically in business ownership, one thing that I learned is if there's a negative email or something happens in the day, which happens, it's like any resistance, my whole body would be ah. And then I think as you get older or maybe wiser, I'm like, resistance isn't a bad thing. If you want to get stronger at the gym, you're using resistance to do that. And I think that you just, like, if there's a push or there's doors shutting, or if there's a general consensus, I can definitely get better in that, that's great. But not all resistance or stretching is a bad thing. If you want to get more flexible, you've got to stretch. And if you want to get better at business, you might have to push yourself and be like, I can do that. Like, I've landed all right there at that point. I think finding that line between aggressive risk taker and conservative accountant is like, that's the battle, right? That is a consistent battle. And how do you handle that? Because sometimes you see people get rejected and they shrink back, and sometimes people get rejected and they push forward. Like, where is the balance of resistance, and how do you deal with something maybe not so great and push out?
Everyone's human, man. I think everyone look at that and go, oh, he doesn't care what people think about him, or he doesn't, like, everyone's got that, like, human emotion tied to it. So no one likes hearing, like, bad things about himself or judgment or putting yourself on a pedestal to get like judged by everyone. Like no one likes it. I feel like now I've become more hardened to it. It's just like this is my trajectory, this is my pathway. I am who I am, and if other people don't like it, then get out of my way. Like, you know, like that's sort of like, it's more like those that are going to be close to you, like your friends and family, and those that truly know you will be supportive. If anyone drops off along the way, it's like they weren't really your friend or they weren't supportive. They're actually people you probably don't want around you and in your circle. So you actually, if they're dropping off along the way, it's a good thing. You've like shelled out the fake people in your life, essentially. And I'm sure every business owner is probably, as I say, they have a friend or two or someone pop to mind that they fell out of ways with as they're sort of going on that trajectory. And it's not only that, but like your mental shift changes too. So you're going to change as a person over time, and then you might not no longer get along with those people because you've changed as an individual and they haven't. So there's all that from in the mix as well. But I feel like you get better with it over time, but you still feel judged at times, or you still feel like, you know, a little bit anxious around things. And then I feel like I can just sit outside of it now and keep moving forward regardless.
I'm just, it is so funny. I have to find this. I'm just looking up my Claude, and I said somewhere yesterday, I'm like, I know I need to start building a bit more of like a personal brand online. And I'm like, it's just like, is it normal to be 40 and care about what people think? Like that. It's literally my searching. And
I,
it's so
I
funny.
think it's human emotion, man. I think you can be
Yeah.
50, you still care.
Yeah. And caring is not a bad thing. But it said something so funny. And it was like, you just got to be the best person you can be, and don't worry about what Dave from the footy club thinks. I'm just like, it just made me laugh so hard. I'm like, oh yeah. And it's so funny because I think, pushing into the trajectory and being the best person you can be and running the best business you can be is such an important part of getting to the end of your life and being like, oh, I did it. And every generation breaks certain things. You know, your parents broke something. I'll break something for my kids. Hopefully they'll break something for their kids. And you're always pushing through and pushing forward. And I think pushing your boundaries of what you thought was possible is such a great thing to do, and getting better and sort of treating business and life like a professional. So if you're a professional sports person or whatever you're at, darts, or you're a clay shooter, Michael Diamond style, if you're practicing, you're always getting better. And as you're getting better, you're learning. And as you're learning, you sort of, you're automatically getting into different circles, whether that's a different training group or whatever. But I just think it's so important to consistently better yourself and not worry about what anyone thinks. But, if the other reality to that is, if three people that you absolutely love came up to you and said, "Hey, I'm a bit worried about this," that's a listening point. That's not like, "Oh, I don't care about what you think." Like, there's like, no, that's our people I trust, and this is why it's so important to have people that you trust and respect in your life that are outside it, that go, "Hey, you're not acting like yourself," and I think I love that. I love that idea of, yeah, I'll push, but I also, you've got that respect. I think so. Caring about what people think is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just bad when it's at the expense of who you could be. So that's a big thing. But I love
I think every person wants a sense of community, right? Like everyone wants to be part of something and to belong to something. Like we're human beings, like community is a big thing. It's how we've evolved and got to where we are. So it's a natural human emotion to care what other people think of you, especially in your community. It's just when you get to business, you're trying to people please people in your community, but that person could be an asshole, like they could be completely unreasonable. So if you're gonna take on every single emotion from every single person in your community, you're gonna find it a really, really hard time. So if that comes back to the personal development, if you can sit outside of a complex situation and see their point of view and see the business's point of view, and you sit completely out of it altogether and go, what is the right thing to do here as a reasonable human being? Are they completely in the wrong, or is it the answer the middle ground, or are we in the wrong? And there's plenty of times where I think I've developed myself in conflict resolution a lot because I can sit there and go, if my other guys make a mistake on site, I can see it in the client's perspective and go, no, that's completely our wrong and that will be rectified at our cost. Or you might sit out of it and go, no, that's the client. You are completely in the wrong, but to make sure you're happy, I want to offer you this. But you are professionally worded in a sense that like, no, you complain, you're in the wrong. This was also the process was followed here. So then just nudge in a gentle way back, But you're always going to have to deal with that, and I feel like it's that sense of community that's lessening when, like, you're going through that. So you feel like this anxious, or you feel like this, I'm losing my spot to belong in the community, especially when, like, I play local sports clubs and that too. A lot of people in the local pubs. Some of those guys want you to do something for nothing, man. Buy your carton of beer for a day's work. It's just like, I can't do that. So, like, to please those people, I had to drop a lot of them off on the way, and not so much off. They'll still speak to me, but they just won't get us to do their work, and we just both know that I'll never work for someone over there that wants something done for nothing.
My old boss, shout out to the big DL, he was an absolute genius at this. So people would ask, he'd be like, oh yeah, we're too expensive for you. He would just say it. And then he would be like, oh, call this person. So it's like, yeah, we don't really work in that market. It's great. You need something. So just call this person. I love that. Just knowing your lane. He would do it so well. And like, you would feel empowered that, oh, he's giving me a number. You wouldn't feel like, oh no, he's just stitched me up.
So funny. We had, like, this is just an electrical context, but we had an older lady come in and drop this lamp in. And to fix this lamp, Sam figured out it's going to be like, pull it all apart and get all the bits and pieces, like $300 or $400. I was like, Sam, we don't fucking fix lamps, man. Just tell her to, like, he used to at his old company, they used to do everything. I was just like, just send it back to her and just, like, tell her, no, we don't do it. I don't want any involvement in it. And I was just like, she'll complain, you'll break a lamp, we'll end up having to give her money, you won't be able to replace the lamp. Just, I don't want nothing to do with it. Anyway, so he took it on kind of before we had that conversation. So it sat in here, one of the boys fixed it, and it was already a bit bent. So when we fixed it and put the lamp holder back on it, the lamp was on a bit of an angle because the metal of the lamp was bent. And she came in and complained, and Sam was like, it was already bent. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. Like, the lamp's like 50 years old. And then so she complained and wouldn't pay the money. So then I said to Sam, I was like, well, you can fix it yourself and have another crack. So he had to sort of cut the thread down on an angle to try and level, like, this lamp holder. It took him another 2 or 3 hours fiddling around with it. And then he said once he picked it up, and he's going, like, you're right, never again, I'm done. Like,
Yeah, and
it's just like,
I think you have to learn that. Yeah.
He needed to learn that. He needed to go, we don't, there's more hassle than what this is worth to do this. Like, no, our lag, we're not going to get into appliance repairs right now.
Yeah, that reminds me so much of, I remember going to this person's house and they were claiming that lightning struck their appliances. This is a very strange person, might I add. And I knew I didn't want anything to do with it, and I was just too nice. And I went around there, and they were like, "Oh, check my computer too. Oh, check this other." They were pulling items out of cupboards to show me. They were like, "Oh, this is also broken. Can you write a report for the insurance?" And I was like looking around and going, "I shouldn't be here. Like, I'm just checking power to the PowerPoint, and I'm walking away. You know what I mean? Like this is not the zone I want to be in." But it's amazing and this is back to the personal development. It's amazing where you can land yourself if you don't work on yourself. And it's amazing where the situations you can get yourself into. Typically speaking, common example is someone calls you, you give them a price over the phone, or you get put on the spot for a price and you know it should be 1,000 and you say 600 because you feel insecure, or your ego is wrapped in how quality you can do the work and how good I am on the tools, and you lose money on the job. And it's like, was that the client's fault I lost money? Or I can trace it back to that conversation that I was in where I should have responded differently. That's my issue. So I think the more you can make things your issue and get better, or your company's issue and get better, the better. So Hib, pushing forward, moving sort of into that controlling your time and personal development space for you, what are you excited about? in the next 6 to 12 months, we were speaking off air, a revenue metric doesn't really drive you. And I get it. And because the revenue metric doesn't drive me in Sparky Coach, it's like, I just think it's sick and we can get this out to people if we just get a bit better. Shout out to our app we're building. Time will tell on that. But yeah, what excites you coming up?
Yeah, I'm just excited about trying to map out the time and freedom more like in my schedule. So it's sort of like built the vehicle now. It's just becoming more about there's always staff management and everyone's got problems. Everyone's got issues outside of work. When you've got 15 to 16 people, your week will drastically change every week to what you expect. So your expectation shouldn't have, my week's going to look like this because it's not going to. Um, so there's that level of it. So um, you probably don't want to get tied into I'll never be working, and this is how it's going to land because that's not realistic. Like if you own a business, but yeah, I feel like it's just exciting in the sense that I can start to map out a little bit more time back for me now. And what that looks like. I need to be a little bit more willing to leave a few little things, and it's more a development journey for me. Like the time's there, I just need to be willing to know to take it. I've wired myself in this sense to build a business that I'm like a workhorse. Now, just it's like a retired um like horse from the racetrack, right? Like I'm in the paddock, and when someone jumps on, I'm ready to bolt. Like so it's just sort of like, and I'm sure you would have found the same when you moved to like Byron and from Sydney. Like this is such a slow way of life that I'm used to. I need to learn to backpedal a little bit here, and I think that's the next personal development thing for me is I need to learn to not go. Not everything needs to be done today. Like
Yeah, I remember moving up here and thinking I still was trapped in that busy is good, I would say, mindset. And I wasn't even working that hard at Crowe Electrical the last couple of years. I was just sort of cashing in on a lifestyle situation. And I remember coming up here and we're sitting at our local cafe and seeing this business owner on the phone a lot. And I'm like, oh, he must be important. And it was a big moment for me because I was looking at it going, oh, that's not a good thing. The fact that I associate phone call, this guy was like up on the phone, back on his computer, up on the phone. I was like, I wonder what he does. That's super cool. And seeing dads like take phone calls at the beach, which was, don't want to typify it to like an area, but I was seeing a lot of that. And then coming up here, and I was still associating busyness with great and hard work as the be all and end all. And I'm like, oh, there's got to be, that's not what I want. Like, I don't want to be 70 just driving huge days and just driving revenue. And so where's the control your time part come into it? So big journey, I think, for me, and even tracing it back to, I think you can trace a lot of that stuff back to childhood, like seeing my dad leave at 7 and come home at 7. And that's just what you did. And now I'm like, oh, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That was great, but that's not my journey. And my journey will look very different to that. And I'm so thankful that I saw that. But I think when hard work meets smart work meets kindness meets like results driven, that's when you can see some huge things. And maybe the biggest flex isn't I was on the phone 50 times today. Maybe the biggest flex is I went fishing, I went to the beach, I got time with the kids, I played handball, I dropped the kids off. Like that's a huge flex. So yeah, I think changing just personal development, getting better, breaking down barriers is super cool. So, Hib, if you had one shot, one opportunity to bless the people into their day, week, month, year, what would you say?
Saying would be predominantly business owners listening. I'd encourage them to be uncomfortable and put themselves into the fire because most of them are probably trying to build and develop a business, and some of them are probably chilling on the beach a day a week, not doing the work, and it's just like, or reluctant to do the work, or maybe not efficient with their time. So they feel like they are, but they're not. So, and then, yeah, the only pathway out of that is to work smart and traject out of it. So, yeah, work on yourself, as we've discussed, because they're probably the bottleneck of their own business. And some of my coaching clients, and I've sort of seen and spoke to them about it, and I won't drop any names here, but then a few of them I was just like, no, but like right up till recently, they're micromanaging materials because they're trying to do too much. They're getting the materials wrong, and their tradies are like, when he finally released it to them to do the material ordering for their job, they're like, thank God everything ran more efficient. They're like, you're never doing it again. Do never do it again. Just let us do this, like, because it was just becoming too much. Like, he was trying to retain a job that wasn't his anymore, but like, so he was his own bottleneck. And then now his tradies are like, literally, I was like, stop doing that. And then within a week he had, and then the next time I spoke to him, I was like, oh, everyone's so much happy. Like, it's just running better. Like, the tradies are happier. It's good. The jobs are more efficient. I'm like, dude, like, I don't know how long that had been going on for, but a long time, I would say.
I'm just thinking of a cafe owner just like pushing something out of the way, putting the toasty in, like going and making the coffees and grinding the beans and pushing everyone out of the way. And sometimes as business owners, we just do exactly that. And if you're watching, it's kind of like watching. It's kind of like watching someone just run around in circles on a football field playing. It's like you're busy, but you're not productive. There's no winners here.
So I reckon it'll just be like work on himself personally, and I reckon that will traject him just as far in business as they start to understand themselves better. That would probably make incredible difference in their business from week to week to month for sure.
Huge, man. Thank you so much for your time. We love you. And don't hang up because this needs to load. So I'm going to press stop now. Thanks everyone for hanging out. We appreciate you guys listening and see you soon.
Cheers, Crowe. See you, man.
That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.